Hi, welcome to Help with Hannah and Calvin. I'm Calvin Reed.
I'm Hannah Jones, and we're answering your questions today, Dear Abby style. This podcast is brought to you by Little India. This is a beloved local family-owned restaurant with 4 locations throughout the Denver area and a coffee shop. Some of my favorites on the menu include the chicken korma, tamarind margarita, and all the samosas. If you live in Colorado, you should make this place a regular stop. And if you're visiting our great city, be sure you don't miss Little India. Visit littleindiadenver.com to find a location near you.
And thank you, Dude IDK Studios in Denver, where we are recording.
Ever since we talked about it, you don't say Jude. You don't say Jude IDK anymore, and I miss it so much, and it reminds me of how, like, when you make someone aware of their quirks, they always, they tamp it down, and it's just kind of a heartbreaking facet of individualism.
I didn't like how I was saying it, though, so it clicked, and one day I just went in my mind, I said, Calvin, say it correctly, and then it just worked. So it wasn't quite because I knew I said it not the way I wanted it to be said.
It's kind of like when those moms make the videos of they're picking up their newborn, and then one day they're picking up their newborn on different days, and then one day they pick them up and they don't do the scrunch anymore, the reflexive where they lift up their knees.
Oh yeah,
and that's just a newborn quality. It reminds me of that.
Just one day it changes.
Yeah,
I'm growing up. What can I say?
Okay, what has been up with you? What does moon signs mean?
So I've been so intrigued by my moon sign recently. I'm a Virgo moon. I'm a Gemini rising and a Gemini sun. So I'm lots of Gemini.
Ooh.
And then I'm a Virgo moon. And recently on my TikTok, moon signs have just been coming up. And apparently a big thing with Virgo moons is they love to categorize everything and put things in labels. And that's my passion in life.
It's probably good to balance out all the fucking air that you have going on. So you're not a complete fucking ditz.
Yeah. Because I am kind of a, I'm flighty sometimes, but I love to categorize everything. My entire understanding of the world is based off of the categories I put things in.
Yeah.
I love a good label. Love it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think so. My understanding of moon signs, to catch the listeners up, right? So your sun sign, this is my understanding. I hope we have an astrology girl listener who can write to us with feedback about my explanation. But
that'd be amazing.
Your sun sign, that's your sign that you know. If you only know of one sign, it's your sun sign.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically the you that you grow into. You feel in alignment with the world when you're acting with those qualities at the forefront and when you're not denying those qualities about yourself. And then your rising sign is a lot of times other people's first impression of you. It's how you exist socially, and it's how you exist on the surface. And then your moon sign has a lot to do with your inner life and especially the development of your morals and values throughout your life. So that's interesting to me. I mean, I have a lot of respect for a Virgo moon. Obviously, I would never be friends with a fucking Aries moon or some shit like that. That would be insane. I don't know. They probably killed with someone. They're probably all in jail. So
honestly.
No, but a Virgo moon is here with us accomplishing great things.
And categorizing every single ounce while they're doing it. I've always, even in my day-to-day life, I compare things. That's just how I think. And I'm working on making that not the only way I can understand things. But even in therapy, when my therapist is telling me something new, I'm oh, just this thing we talked about 4 weeks ago, a little bit like that, but if you change 2 things. And he's
yeah.
Yes.
Do you feel your values and your morals are often very rigid and very binary?
Yeah, especially when I was younger. I definitely grew up with a more rigid just moral code. I have recognized more of the gray space, and that nuance is really important to life and that kind of thing.
You're rolling your eyes. So listeners, he's rolling his eyes as he says nuance.
Nuance,
that is a Virgo moon if ever I've met one.
Because it's just you're right. Because it's I don't want it to be I'd love it to all be black and white. I don't love nuance, but it's there and it's important. You're right. It just makes you want to roll my eyes because it's just stupid. Because it's the world would be so much easier if it just fit in the categories I wanted to put it in, but it doesn't.
Well, I am a Capricorn sun, which is Capricorn and Virgo are pretty similar. Virgo's a little more toward the serial killer end of the organized spectrum.
Yeah.
Capricorn's a little bit more of just a success story.
Okay, bitch.
But that's my sun sign. And then Gemini is my rising sign, which is I think sort of what allows me to still be fun and charismatic.
Is that why we clicked right away?
I think probably. I think that's why we have good conversational banter and can connect on that level.
Yeah.
Strong opinions is kind of what I see in both of us. Like conversationally, we both appreciate a strong opinion.
Yes.
And then my moon sign is Cancer, which I think I relate to that in the sense that I am extremely kind of like obsessive and like I feel very deeply about issues of morality and values, which has been a problem throughout my life. Like I was raised within Christianity, which is an extremely rigid moral structure that's handed to you, fully formed on day one. They're like, here you go. All of the values that you might spend your entire 20s kind of figuring out for yourself, here you go. And you're like 6 years old and you're like, got it. This couldn't possibly go wrong. And there's no sort of self-discovery. You learn this incredibly prescriptive way of thinking that is like anything that is pleasurable to you or instinctual to you is bad and wrong and needs to be repressed, and anything that is challenging to you is probably sacred and holy in some mysterious way. And so even if, let's say, you get to 18 and you're like, well, I certainly don't even if I was going to be a Christian, I certainly don't necessarily agree with the exact moral code that I was handed. I'm definitely going to switch it up radically. The problem is that like that general vibe and that like nervous system pattern that you've already internalized, like you can throw the moral code out the window, but you're still gonna like feel remnants. Like even today, I generally, if something is like pleasurable, instinctual, I'm like, there's danger afoot. Something is bad. The devil's got his hands on me, you know? And if something feels like challenging, I'm like, well, it'll probably pay off well in the long run, right? I know that like these people make me feel like shit, but if I figure out a way for them to like me, there's probably something deeply good about like overcoming that. And it's like something that still fucks me up, basically.
Yeah, because there are like some life challenges that are like good, you learn from it, you grow, like, you know, like there's like steel in the fire like makes it sharper. That's not the phrase at all actually, but there's a phrase similar to that. But I get what you mean, where it can get like a little extreme, where it's like there's a difference between like there's like a circle of like comfort, and there's like a circle of comfort where there's no growth, and then there's a circle of discomfort where there is growth, and then there's the circle beyond that one that's like it's like even worse, and it's like you have to live in the circle of discomfort where there's still growth and it's not
mild
too far.
Discomfort. I always compare it to like the heart rate zones at the gym.
Yes.
Like there's a level of challenge that is no longer constructive, and you have to develop a keen sense of awareness in your body of like, am I being challenged at an appropriate amount in a way that is constructive?
Yeah, and that can be tough. But a Cancer moon, I think that also makes sense why last episode you said that you listen to like when it's warm out, you listen to happy music. When it's not warm out, you don't. And that feels right for a Cancer moon. Like that just feels like the energy of the space is going to help like dictate your emotions.
And I also talk about like my moods are so flighty and random. I'm just sort of like surfing on them.
Okay.
Water sign, big water sign energy.
Oh my gosh, I lived with a Cancer. I lived with multiple Cancers, and they just cry so damn much. And I'm just not a crier.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that Virgo moon would really...
And the Gemini in me, too. I don't feel like Geminis are big criers.
I think they can be in a manipulative fashion, but...
Yeah, I get that. I'm not a big crier, but I've lived with quite a few, and sometimes I'm just like, okay. I just don't like crying. I feel like joy from inside out, where I'm like, don't feel sadness. That's just not like the vibe I like feeling, but I know it's important, so I don't like to cry, so I try not to.
Yeah.
It happens. What about you? What's been going on with you?
So the first thing that I can't stop thinking about is last night I was at this show and the audience was like a little tight and weird. They were like laughing really short, you know, when that happens, like a really short burst of laugh. And I would keep feeling like maybe I got them, but there was one problem. And the specific problem was that there was a couple in the front row that was laughing way too fucking hard. Let me explain to you. Okay. It's like I'll paint a picture. White, ethically non-monogamous couple.
Yes. I know exactly who you're picturing.
100%. I think they're like sitting in the front so that they can turn around and like look for their third. Okay. This is the exact vibe that they had.
Yes.
And they were. And here's the thing that I can't, it's like, I don't think they're bad people. I think they are genuinely better at having fun than everyone else in that audience. But what people don't understand about audiences is it's crowd psychology. And so what makes people able to laugh and for an audience to become like hot and for it to be a good show is the fact that everyone feels very socially comfortable laughing and becomes very disinhibited, and they're not looking around at their neighbor and seeing everyone else's general response. So what kills an audience is if one person is acting enough outside of the behavior of the crowd that it's like calling attention to themselves. So the people, and it's fucking up my rhythm, right? Because I have to wait until people in the front are like take a fucking breath from laughing so hard. It's insane because I think in their minds, they're like, she's really good and she's not getting what she deserves. So we're going to laugh extra hard in like a performative way to like show the rest of the crowd how to act. And what I wanted to just like take their faces in my hands and say like, I know what I'm doing. And if you walked out of this room right now, I think I could get this crowd if you just give me some time, but you are being so distracting.
Yeah.
It is making everyone else uncomfortable. Okay. You know how like if one girl in a bar, let's say you're in like a crowded bar and everybody's talking and vibing and nobody's aware of anybody else. And then one girl got really fucking weird and started like screaming at the bartender and like starting to take her top off. Everyone would quiet down and turn to her because all of a sudden everyone would have that secondhand discomfort. They're like giving the other people secondhand discomfort. It frustrated me so much because I knew in their minds they were being extremely supportive. And I was just like, I just wish that you wouldn't be thinking, I'm the only one who should be thinking about the crowd psychology of the room and about like what I need from this audience. And
that is so true.
You just think about if you like the jokes or not.
That is all you have to do as an audience member is just be quiet and laugh at me.
And I truly hate when comics do that. Comics will often do that too out of support. If you're having like a very mid set and they think one of your like new jokes is so fucking funny and they just want to support, they'll like laugh really hard. And it's like, well, that's frustrating because it's like now I have to. It's an obvious thing that happened that I'm just going to ignore, you know? It's like, if you had just laughed normal, I would be making progress with every joke with this crowd.
Yeah, the laughing extra hard is just kind of annoying. It's just like, okay, girl, we get it. It's like the pick me. It's like, why are you being a pick me why are you being a pick me audience
Literally.
member? Like, that's not the energy I need right now.
Literally, why are you being a pick me audience member?
Like, you're right, because the intention is there. But just like, say that's funny and like look at the person next to you and be like, this should have gotten a better laugh. Like maybe have like that little moment. Don't be in charge.
No, it's literally exactly like being a teacher's pet, because you know how in a class, if one person is like weirdly a know-it-all and keeps raising their hands, everyone is less likely to participate because all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe I don't know the material as well as that fucking person does. And that's why teachers hate those kids. It's like, shut up, because you're making a learning like just a situation. You're just killing the vibes. You're killing the vibes for everyone else to participate.
Yeah, you're making it not a learning environment anymore.
You just have to act within one standard deviation of the bell curve. That's all I'm asking. If you are a crowd member, just act within one standard deviation of the bell curve and always stay sober enough to act within one standard deviation.
And you will be the best audience member that we've ever seen.
You won't. There is no being the best. There is only a great audience and a bad audience. If I can single you out of an audience, you are automatically a bad audience member.
Yeah. Well, yeah, unless they have a funny reaction to a joke. Like I'll do like a little generational joke and I can tell whenever a Gen Zer laughs a little bit harder because I'm like, yeah, I know for a fact this like millennial or Gen X wouldn't get it. That's the only time, but that's like a very specific circumstance.
I just don't want to encourage anyone listening because
you're right. Don't do that.
Ultimately, this is a PSA. Ultimately, I took time out of what it was supposed to be an entertainment podcast to just sort of lecture at you guys, and that's.
But it would need to be said because it is annoying as shit. Like I know the fact that I can picture exactly what the exact feeling that you're talking about, the exact audience member, where they are. They are literally the front row and they are every time. Go 2 more rows back, please. Like, because I also feel like awkward. Like, it just makes the entire set not quite as fun as it could have been. And you feel bad because you're right. The intention is there. Think it through. Good. Keep the intention, lose the execution.
Yeah. Also, laughter is performative. So there's uncontrollable laughter doesn't exist. Get yourself together.
Yeah, I don't really, that only happens in like interpersonal situations.
Do you know when you're sitting on the couch with like a friend and you both have like you're both studying or something and they start like laughing uncontrollably and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's so funny. And it's like, no, you want to talk to me because they've done literal psychological studies and you're like very unlikely to laugh when you're alone. If you're laughing while you're alone, it's probably because you think people can hear you and you're portraying having a good time watching whatever fucking show you want. Like,
Same.
I'm 100% serious.
Damn.
Okay.
I love that. But you also have some guys you hate on Hinge.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So are we not doing the second one for you?
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Okay.
We can. Yeah, no. So I just have like a new favorite fruit. Like mine's way like less interesting than yours. I just have a new favorite fruit, sumo
J'adore.
mandarins.
Yeah.
They're so fucking cool.
Sumo anything is a good sign, dude.
Literally, girl, I just because it's like a cutie orange, but the size of a normal orange.
Yeah. With loose skin.
Literally, with looser
Loose
skin, it's
detached
easier.
skin.
It's easier to rip
You
off.
just give that bitch a tummy tuck. It's crazy.
It's amazing because the thing that I don't love about cuties is you can only buy the 5-pound bags and they're too small and they're too much work for what you're getting. So but this one is like, it's the size of like 4 cuties. That is so fucking cool. I've had like 6 in the past 2 weeks, which like for going from not eating oranges at all to having one almost every other day.
You look
kind of a big
glowing with
jump.
vitamin C.
As I should be. As I should be. They're just so good. And I like am weird. I like to rip the cutie part like in half so I can see like the inside part of the orange because it reminds me of like
What?
fish. I don't know.
Oh,
like the meat.
Yeah. I do like doing that. I like the little cylindrical
Little shit.
tendrils
Yeah.
of fruit. Yeah, the little turds of like actual fruit because then when you like put one in your mouth and it's very pressurized, so it explodes.
It explodes. It's like nature's popping boba, and I love it so much. Like I actively think it is so much fun. And then you like rip off the skin, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
look
the
at
little
anatomy
layer.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. And with the sumos, they like connect. They stick to each other a lot, so I feel like I get to see like the cell breakdown of like this orange, and I'm like, is this science?
Oh yeah, it literally is.
So I just have like, and I
There's
love that.
some Fibonacci shit in there for sure.
It's like, it's just like the sumo mandarin came out to play, and I just hope it wasn't like a genetically modified fruit because then I'm out here, okay, that's fine. Well, you know what?
That's why it's not called a mandarin, it's called a sumo mandarin. You know, like it's got like.
That's true. Well, whatever genes they put in there, keep it going.
You know that like all the fruits we eat are like there used to be like 2 kinds of apples. So even just like the fact that you can eat a pink lady right now, that shit was genetically engineered.
And pink ladies are my favorite kind of
I guess
apple.
genetically modified and genetically engineered is a little different. They just very carefully crossbreed stuff until it creates the ideal fruit. But even like the bananas you eat are not the bananas that existed hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, and that's like insane to me. And I know that like long term, that's like not great for like fruit ecosystems. So like, hopefully it's not that way with the sumo because I'm going to keep buying them. They are such cunty fruits, and I love it.
Well, I don't think genetic engineering is necessarily bad. I think that the fact that we plant a fuck ton of one crop is generally bad.
Yeah.
But even if that crop was like the original terrible apples that we had before, I don't think it'd make a huge difference. But
Okay, I'll take it.
I'm for genetically engineering fruit. We have the science.
And as long as it doesn't hurt the fruit ecosystem,
As long as it doesn't hurt the fruit.
I'm go off. Like as long as the fruit isn't crying out in pain and wanting to die, like I'm happy.
Okay. So I've been on I keep getting on to like a dating app and then I'll spend like 2 minutes on it and then I'll be like, God, I actually immediately feel like I want to die.
Yeah, valid.
But one time that happened today because I never understood what the Hinge standouts section is, but that is Hinge using AI to figure out what your type is. And then they put it in a special section where you can only send them a rose, which like costs money to send.
One free a week. That's it.
Insane. So I heard about this on a TikTok and I was like, oh my God, I've literally never looked at that page. Or like, maybe I've glanced at it, but I've not understood what it was. So I go to my Hinge standouts, immediately see a guy that I hate.
Oh, I love that.
A guy who like truly gets under my skin. And then I like looked at his profile. I was like, I'll never be attracted. And then I was like, okay, on an algorithmic level, it's not math's fault that he was identified as my type.
I was about to say, does he look like if he didn't have his personality, would you be interested?
He looks like he was dying and he has a mustache. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then I had to kind of like think a little bit harder. I was like, okay, so why is my type also a lot of like, would I be friends necessarily with a lot of the guys that I date? And the answer is like, no, probably not. I don't usually, I wouldn't usually be drawn to them in that capacity.
Yeah, I get that.
But I wouldn't be friends with men in general. And then maybe that's a deeper question. Should I even have men open on my filters?
I'm always for just going for the same gender. For others.
Well, that's because you're gay.
No. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm biased.
That's not a grand theory. That's just you being.
Well, if it was up to me, truly, if I gotta pick my sexuality, I low key be banging for bi. I low key would be because girls are fun. I just truly wish I had any sort of sexual relation there because I'd be vibing with them.
I am so sick of. I think the standards of romance in queer culture is a little okay. No, that's not true. I got asked on 5 thrifting dates in a row. I was like, I'll kill myself, and I switched my filters to only men. So I'll be more honest. It's not about the standards of romance. I don't want to go on a fucking thrifting date. I don't want to go on a fucking picnic. What comfortable clothing makes sense on a picnic? How am I supposed to look cute and also sit crisscross Indian style? Okay? Genuinely think about that, lesbians. Before you invite me on another fucking picnic date, consider the fact that I have 2 types of pants. One type are extremely attractive, and the other type are comfortable to sit on the ground in.
You can't do both.
There is not a single pair of pants that overlaps.
That's where I'm proud. That's where I'm happy to be gay. No gay man has ever asked me on a fucking picnic date.
Exactly. And then also like it's hard to fuck.
Yeah.
Because they won't be aggressive and harassy about it ultimately. And it's not good that's what I want. But
no, the one I've had a few guys harass me and I really do hate that my first initial reaction is, oh my gosh, stop. Like I'm just so undeniable in my charisma. Like I'm so hot that you just can't let me go.
Well, and that's a thing of the fact that like I feel I developed a skill over time. Dating was extremely scary because I did not know how to say no. And so every date I had no idea how it was going to go. I might be trapped in an uncomfortable situation for a really long time. I might end up doing stuff that I didn't want to do. But like now, the second I'm not having fun, I fucking leave. 30 minutes is the minimum for me, and I will leave at minute 30, and I have done it multiple times this month, okay?
That's impressive that you have such a harsh timeline.
And I realized, and I give this advice out all the time, if you find dating scary, it is most likely because you don't have the skill of saying no and leaving. And if your body does not trust you to say no when you need to and to leave when you need to, then your body will not want to go on dates because every date will be a huge fucking risk.
Yeah.
For your own safety. But because I feel extremely safe saying no, I do kind of like prefer someone to be more, I just really like being pursued. That's just my preference. And, men do that more.
No, men do pursue more. No, like there is the part of me that just like, wants I want someone to just like be like, because it's also, when you grow up watching like romantic comedies and stuff, like you kind of get a twisted view of like what romance should be. And I just always wanted that guy that just won't give up. And the few men I've had that just don't give up, you block their numbers. And I'm like, well, that wasn't the kind of giving. Why were you the one that had to not give up? I had to give up on you.
Yeah.
Psycho. It's like not fun. Well, but because there is like something fun about the idea of being pursued, but I don't know. Like I said, all the guys I've had that have been like really into pursuing me have gotten to the creepy level. I've had some guys pursue like a little bit, and when they're pleasant about it, then I get turned off for some reason because I'm like, oh my gosh, what? Like I'm not worth you being fucking feral over, and it's like that's not the way it goes. It's a very 20s view.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. We've all felt like that, but it's not a healthy dynamic.
No,
I
it is
try to
not.
remind myself that.
No, but it feels great in the moment.
It only feels great when you are using it as like a salve on your own insecurities, but the
Hmm.
second you become insecure, it is less attractive to you.
Yeah. No, it's valid. Also, I love your shirt today. You went from a tomato shirt to a scream shirt, and I love that for
Thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get into questions. But first, we have some announcements. I have shows coming up. When this comes out, Portland will have already passed, but there will still be chances to see me in Denver at my new material show on April 3rd and in Seattle on April 13th. Those will be very fun shows. Also in Raleigh, North Carolina on May 26th. I'll have the link up for that shortly.
Awesome. And I am March 27th, I'm at Comedy Works Denver. April 4th, I'm at Crazy Mountain Brewing. And April 25th, I'm at Fraco's Bar. All of these are in Denver.
Slay. This podcast is sponsored by the Patreon. Patrons have first priority to get their questions answered, and they also receive a bonus episode every month. Patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. It is only $3. That's Patreon.com/HannahJonesCool.
If you want to ask a question to get answered in a future episode, you can find the link to that form in the podcast description or in either of our link trees or on any of our social media platforms.
Alrighty, question number 1. Hey there, I'm so excited to see Hannah at the Portland show on the 21st. Thank you so much. You're my favorite person in the world. This is a good person. They're getting lots of benefit of the doubt because they're a ticket buyer. Okay. Sorry for the long one. I have a relationship question I've been really struggling with in different ways for years. My 25 female live-in boyfriend, 25 male, of 5 years, has a much different way of talking about the world and about people than I do. He can be quite crass, saying that people are effing stupid way more often than I ever would. I'm embarrassed to say he often uses the R word to describe things and people when he is complaining about them, never to describe a person who is in any way mentally challenged. I have asked him for years to speak kinder about people in general and to complain with smarter words, and have blatantly said many times to stop using the R word altogether. He will promise to be better because I'm upset, but within days act exactly the same. It's generally done under the cloak of, I was just kidding, and he is actually extremely funny, but he is crossing the line with what I am willing to be aligned with. I know from years together that his actions and behavior toward others aligns with my values, as we were EMT partners with diverse populations for years, and he was extremely compassionate and non-biased in that role. The issue is language and attitude in a general sense, and insensitive language around people's appearances or laughing at violence seen online. He will tear up at violence we would have seen on an actual EMS scene, but laugh at someone being fatally hurt on Twitter. It's conflicting for me. At this point, I am extremely close to ending everything on the premise that he is not changing at all, especially if he is still using the R word, which is the simplest change. I am a trauma psychology graduate student in Portland, and while I love some dark humor, I do not want to be aligned with someone who is always talking badly of people and using offensive terms casually. I know his attitude is very common. My question is there any way this person evolves quickly, or do I need to cut a 5-year very serious relationship loose if I don't accept this attitude and who this man is right now? Thank you always. Signed, aw man, did I waste 5 years?
You did not waste 5 years. Absolutely not. No.
And I think a lot of people have been there. This is a really common situation to find yourself in and not know how to handle. Because when you're in the dating, and this is my biggest gripe about men, everybody thinks I complain about men so much. I really think I do it quite minimally. But this is one major complaint that I have, that I think a lot of men portray their values during the dating stage. When you're trying to suss out compatibility, they portray their values in a way that is pretty different than the actions and behavior that you will see after that 4-month mark.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of us get attached and get convinced of this person's values, and then they kind of switch up and they'll introduce darker and darker jokes in a very gradual way and see what they can get away with. And you're like, and every single time you're like, this bothers me. What the fuck? And they fight you on it. And then you get through to them. You explain like I think it's like really bad that you're so desensitized with violence. I understand why you are as like a dude who had the internet at 13, but I think it's bad. And I think you should be working to change this about yourselves. And then like, I think it's more telling that it's something that you feel like you got a little bit tricked into, and that you'll have these conversations where you feel like he's going to change, and then all of a sudden he doesn't change. I feel like he is engaged in this constant push and pull of like, what can I get away with? And she's this like woke PC wet blanket on me.
Yeah.
And I am acting in a way that is totally fine. I think a lot of men don't see these conversations as conversations about morals and values. I think they see them as like, the principal said I couldn't say this in class, eye roll.
Very much. They think of it as a preference rather than like a moral.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I've always felt super strongly about the R word. I used the R word a lot when I was in 6th grade. And then one of my teachers had like a big sit down with our entire class, because it was something like my entire class at the time was saying a lot. And we had like a whole day where we talked about why that word was bad. And literally since that day, like I remember that presentation thoroughly, and it happened like well over 10 years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really fucked up word. Why would I want to say it? And I know it's easier to change language as like a teenager, but like learning about something like one word, taking out one word is like surprisingly easy to do. So it's just like the fact that not even that small change is happening is a little worrisome.
It also, there's a reason that I kind of paused and laughed during your question, which was specifically because when you talked about how you knew his values were aligned with yours, you brought up the fact that you were EMT. What does EMT stand for?
Emergency medical technician.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. I have brain rot. Calvin, I thought this said E&M. And I thought you were talking about like, we were ethically non-monogamous and he would fuck people of all different types. And I was like, was he fucking mentally challenged people? Like, oh yeah, he doesn't hate mentally challenged people. He still fucks them. And I'm like, that doesn't prove what you think it does.
That was funny. That was fucking hilarious.
EMT partners. Okay, so you feel like you've seen his values in action. And I just think that when you bring up a conversation and when you clearly state yourself, I would come to him one last time and I would say, I have discovered that this is a feeling that is not going away for me, which means that it's actually non-negotiable. I have decided that this is important to me in terms of our values, the life I want to lead, the language that I want in my home. Are you down to make the changes necessary, in which case you will be held accountable every time you fuck up? And this will be a thing, and it's not going to be something that you view as annoying. It's going to be something you view as important.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think your ability to say the R word is somehow more important than your relationship?
Yeah.
And if that conversation occurs and it's extremely come to Jesus in nature, and you say, I will walk if I don't see progress, and then you don't see progress immediately, 3-month check-in, I think you do walk, because I think no matter how you feel about that one single word, I think there's a bigger pattern of him not taking you seriously and being more concerned with getting caught and having to follow your stupid little rules. Mm-hmm. This is his internal monologue that I'm surmising. Than he is with actually like hammering out your values as a couple.
Yeah, and it's definitely, and I know that it like might feel like it's an ultimatum, but it's really not. It's more like I need to see growth. Like definitely like the calling people fucking stupid and maybe using like more harsh language in general. That's like something that might take some time to like change out someone's vocabulary. But like one word, like the R word, is a great way to see how growth. I don't want to say it's like the orange peel effect from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but it's similar, where it's like if they can make like this smaller change, that is honestly that is very doable. That will be a bigger thing into like, because if he can really make a change with something smaller, then the more general crass language will kind of teeter down over time.
And if he thinks that you making this a boundary, a non-negotiable thing, if he thinks that that is stupid, then you have your answer.
Yep, because language is important.
And if he fights you on that, then it's like, sorry, this is the way I feel. You're not going to convince me to feel a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had this conversation a bunch of different times and it's always been a negotiation, and it's no longer a negotiation. I am letting you know what I need out of a relationship. You can be that, or it can be over.
Language is so important to like community and stuff like that. So it makes a lot of sense that like language feels like it could be a barrier in a relationship because, you know, if you, let's say you guys want to have like kids or whatever, like that kind of language is something that comes up with like the idea of raising a family and all that kind of stuff. Like language is just really important in a community level and interpersonal level, being able to have that. And if it feels like you can't communicate with this kind of stuff, it does make it really hard. And dark humor, yeah, there's definitely a big difference between dark humor and then people just trying to be like offensive. Like there's something clever with dark humor that like that is lacking with just being offensive, and people will disguise it as dark humor when that's not what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the laughing at the people being fatally hurt. There's something very deeply insidious that is like unfortunately extremely common with straight men.
Oh yeah.
And that is like a level of desensitization to violence that will shake you to your core when you find out the extent of it. But they will generally hide the extent of it toward women because they don't want you to know, because they know you'll be disgusted by it.
And if you see that like push comes to shove, like you've worked with him in the field, you've seen that he can be like non-biased and be like really helpful in those situations, that means that it could be down there. So I really do think it's worth like kind of really setting something in stone of like, you know, this has to, like, I have to see a change, because it does sound like the fact that you have history with him, it sounds like he is capable of it, but that is the biggest thing, is it depends like how seriously he takes it and how seriously he takes like that you think it's important to you, or like how he thinks it's important to you is going to be a big deal with it as well.
Yeah. Good luck. That's a tough spot to be in. And I know that it feels embarrassing. It does feel embarrassing to all of us, but I think all people who date men have experienced that at one point or another. And
it's awkward. It is so awkward.
And I was like, how did this happen? Because I am so fucking vocal about my political views and about my values. It's like, how could I have gotten tricked? Am I so fucking stupid? Am I such a fucking pick-me? And then I went back and I was like, oh yeah, it was hidden from me until I was attached. Until it felt like, oh, it could be explained away because I've seen this guy's values and his behavior, and does language actually matter that much? And like, yeah, it is embarrassing, but you're not alone.
No, you are not. I mean, it happens to me, and I'm dating guys who are gay, and I'm like, why are we talking about like, I thought we were on the same team here. We're a marginalized group for this exact reason. Why I'm going on a date with you? Why are like how are you still somehow fucking up? No, it's so common.
Y'all got the queer eye and you got bold.
we got the queer and we got bold. I was like, why are you saying these things? Literally, I'm like, how the fuck do you not know? Like, we're gay. I thought we just knew like, I thought we cared. No, we don't. Well, they don't. Beautiful. Next question. I'm a 50-year-old man dating a 32-year-old woman. Should I brag to people about it? Seriously, though, I am imparting my wisdom upon her in and out of the bedroom, and she can't get enough. This age gap is new to me, but I like her a lot. My issue is the age sort of bothers me. Should I let it bother me? Signed, Imparter of Wisdom. Thanks for subscribing to the Patreon.
Thank you so much. If you're still listening to this after we spent a good 7 minutes on moon signs.
I think they are.
What bothers you about the age?
Yeah, like that's what's confusing to me, because you guys are you do reach a certain point where age becomes truly just a number, and y'all are here.
Fuck about a 32-year-old woman and a 50-year-old man. The general rule is half your age plus 7. So half your age plus 7 is 32. You're on the cusp. I would say that once someone is 30, age gaps can be weird, but they will no longer be weird in a way that's like, I'm judging that guy. I would never judge the guy. And once you get old enough, at a certain point, it's like, I'm actually judging the younger person because you cannot just go around dating the elderly.
Yeah, no, definitely. 30 I feel like is a good cutoff. Part of me,
32 and 50 is so normal and natural. That's like
that doesn't feel bad at all.
Not weird at all.
So you bragging about it is weird, if anything, because no one will care.
Depends on why you're bragging about it. If you're like, look at my young hot wife.
And how I impart wisdom upon her in and out of the bedroom.
Yeah, that
Something
was weird.
tells me she's been imparting wisdom onto you. But okay, sir, go off.
I mean, he's probably imparting wisdom, just the softest boners you've ever seen in your life.
He's like, the second I have this Viagra
a lot of
pill,
half chub.
the second I get this blue chew down my system, oh, it's over for you, bitch. Like, what?
Class starts in approximately 30 minutes.
Like, what? So you want to brag about it, but you also find it bothering you. I think you should take some time to reflect on why you're getting that.
No one's going to judge you about it. I think that I don't know. I think bragging is weird, but you should always say, look at my extremely hot girl that I'm dating. You should always be proud of your partner.
Oh, 100%. You don't have to be like, look at how young they are compared to me. Like, that is where it's weird.
Is she like a mess? Is she like a Hannah Horvath 32? Or is she like a, upstanding member of society? Is she paying her taxes and stuff? I don't know. But it sounds like a perfectly normal relationship. I don't think it should bother you. I think that if the age is causing a real disconnect in like lifestyle, like if you're in two very different positions in life, in the sense that if she's not like gainfully employed or something, I could see why that would bother you, but that's a lifestyle thing and not an age thing.
Yeah, I've gone on dates with bigger age differences than this, and it's been just fine. But the biggest thing is definitely, like, we're in two very different spots of life. Like, I'm talking about things that, like, they're talking about their grandkids, and I'm like, I do comedy. So, it's just different phases of life. So unless that's like the thing that makes you uncomfortable, which is valid, you want to be with someone who can kind of understand where you're at in life. So that makes a lot of sense, but that's definitely more of a lifestyle thing and like where people are at in life.
I think you're totally fine. I don't think anyone would judge you.
No.
Keep doing you, imparter of wisdom.
You're so wise, sir.
She can't get enough.
I have a feeling she can.
No, I think she literally can't get enough because you just don't have a lot of stamina, like she's
yeah, there we go.
She can't get enough.
No, she truly can't.
Okay. Next, this is a Reddit post. Am I the asshole for not choosing sides after my best friend's breakup? So me, 28 female, and my best friend, 28 female, we'll call her Courtney, have been friends since our sophomore year in high school, about 12 years. I have also known her now ex-boyfriend, we'll call him Jason, for 8 years. Jason is my husband's best friend, and that's how I met him. I got to know Jason pretty well for about a year before he ever met Courtney. I introduced Jason to Courtney after Jason and I had a drunk heart-to-heart at a party. I told him all about her, and he fell in love before he ever met her. I set up brunch with her that night while we were drunk. They met the next morning, and the rest is history. I love that you're getting wasted. Instead of like starting fights or crying or like stealing from people's houses, you get wasted and like bring people together.
That's me though. I'm a drunk complimenter, so this is good stuff.
Incredible, Calvin. Next time you get drunk, talk about me to someone, okay?
I got you.
They had a lot of ups and downs over the years, and I would always be the one both of them would come to. Okay. Well, that's bad already. And I always kept it confidential. I would never tell either of them what the other would say to me. If Jason came to me, I'd never tell Courtney what he said to me and vice versa. And both of them knew that the other would talk to me. There was never a problem in that, except for the fact that you did not get a license for all the therapy that you're performing. Mm-hmm. What the fact? Why is it your husband? Your husband gets with you. He's like, here's my best friend. He needs a lot of emotional help, and I'm not going to do that. He's just
true.
Like pushing Jason on to you all the time.
My gosh.
Until it's been 7 years they've been together. They've moved out of state twice. They've had career changes. They've had health problems. You name it. Then Jason gets a job as a highway patrol officer, and for whatever reason, he just can't fathom having someone at home. He said he had been feeling his feelings slip for a little while and thought he could fix it, but getting the job as an officer just solidified he couldn't cut it having someone to worry about at home. They actually took a 6-week break just to see how he felt with some space, just to see if it was a phase. It didn't help.
Never does.
So when they took that break, I was there for Courtney every single day, reassuring her that no matter the outcome, she was going to be okay. I helped her get help with getting on anxiety meds and seeing a doctor. I helped make sure she was still remembering to eat. Sometimes I gave advice. Sometimes I just let her cry and vent. But I was there for her every single day. And then the day came where he actually broke up with her. Afterwards, she found out that I was still talking to him. I didn't talk to him every day like I did with her, but I still talked to him. Then she started getting distant and snapping at me over weird things. Eventually, she told me that she was upset because she's lost literally everything and my best friend can't even take my side. But I told her that I wasn't going to choose sides because Jason was my friend too, and he didn't do anything wrong. Like, if he had cheated or was an asshole in some way, I would absolutely choose sides, but that didn't happen. I don't drop people out of my life unless they deserve it. So because of that, she said, maybe one day we can be friends again. And I said, well, I love you and I'll always be here. And she blocked me on everything, including my phone number. So am I the asshole? Did I lose my best friend over a stupid stance?
I would say, I don't know. I've definitely been like the middle of like the fight before friend. Like I get that. I get thrown into that a lot, and it is really, really hard because you like don't want to, especially when it's like friendships that you've had for so long. It's like, you know, and it's hard to like genuinely pick a side. But I do think the friend was being dramatic because she did pick a side. She was talking to that friend every day. She was like, yeah, you're the friend. Like, I'm going to put an effort to talk to you. She probably still talked to the Jason guy.
She's also friends with her first.
She was friends with her first.
Yeah. Jason was her husband's friend.
It's not like you
kind of became her friend because of couples.
Like, yeah, and you can't like, I don't know. And
he's also a highway patrolman. I find it very hard to believe that Jason and her have such a mutual, emotionally nurturing friendship. I don't think Jason would ever be there for you. He's a highway patrolman. He won't even be there for you if you're speeding.
Yeah. No, I really do. Yeah. I first of all, girl, you can do better. But yeah, it's like the husband's friend doesn't go anywhere because you're still with the husband. So it's like, it's what are you going to do? Make everything awkward for the rest of your life because of this one thing? Like, no, you're going to be cordial and you're going to be nice. Like that's a very normal thing.
I guess. But if I was only being cordial and nice, I would tell her straight up, I don't want to blow up my own marriage, and he's my husband's best friend, and I respect that, so I'm cordial and nice with him. But I don't have a true one-on-one friendship with him, which is like also kind of weird if you do. It's kind of weird if your husband's friend becomes like an intimate, true one-on-one friend. It was weird in the beginning. I don't think that you've done anything morally deeply wrong. I think you've done enough things stupid that now you are suffering the very reasonable consequences of your action. Because the fact is that your friend, I understand when it's too painful to be friends with Switzerland. 100%. She does deserve someone who's taking her aside.
Yeah.
She doesn't deserve to try to keep up an intimate, emotionally intense friendship with someone who's trying to be impartial in an absolutely devastating life event for her.
Yeah.
So you turned yourself into the person who could not be a good friend to her right now. And that makes sense. I would suggest not being in that position in the future.
Yeah,
I think you could have noticed years ago where this was headed.
Mm-hmm. And that does make sense. Or, you know, like maybe you didn't quite communicate that, or maybe you do still want to stay one-on-one friends, which is I've been Switzerland quite a few times, and it's so fucking awkward to be Switzerland, but it's also because I'm a people pleaser. So sometimes you really do just kind of have to like cut your losses and recognize that like you're probably like this friendship is probably the one that would stand the test of time between like you and your husband's best friend.
Why doesn't Jason go to your husband?
That is what's weird. Is like, are you talking to him and it's like he's talking to both of you? He has a group chat with both of you and like you're both on it, or is it very much
is
like
he coming over to the house and having a glass of wine and it's all three of you?
Right, or is it like
because you could just stop attending that little group of three?
Yeah, like you can there are little things that can be done, or if you are like genuinely like maintaining a very intimate one-on-one friendship, then I can see why that would be uncomfortable, because it's like, sure, he didn't do anything horribly wrong, but that means that you don't have to like drop him off the face of the planet. But like relationships change and evolve, and maybe this was like the time for it to have a change. And it's not like you're being like a dick and like telling him to like go fuck himself, but you're just recognizing that you're closer to her at this time. You want to spend some time with her, and if you were doing that, then like really trying to have communicated that with the friend from the get-go. Because like I can read this to where maybe it wasn't communicated super well, that maybe you really felt like you were on her side. You were trying not to be a dick to the other person, which is a valid way to go. But if you're trying to maintain both friendships equally, that's where it's like definitely very.
Yeah. And Jason is my friend too, and he didn't do anything wrong. It's like, he definitely did one thing wrong, which is that he got a job as a highway patrolman.
That one's funky. And the fact that job, he was like, let me see if I want to like break up with my girlfriend because of it. That's weird for me.
It's so weird. I feel like I know what kind of guy he is.
I know, like that one thing just like, and says it's like, a lot.
I know that he did do something wrong and it wasn't included, you know, like I find it really hard to believe that he was just the best husband ever until one day he just wasn't in love with her anymore, you know.
And he tried so hard to fix it.
And he tried so hard, but then actually he just didn't want.
And taking a 6-week break, babe, that one, whose ever idea that was not, I have a feeling it was Jason's, but like that just is not, that's just never going.
I think it was her idea, because I think he was like, I am out. And she was like, give me 6 weeks. And he's like, okay.
Poor thing. Yeah, when you're in love, I would do that. I know myself well enough, but girl, yeah, you're not.
If they're fighting, if they have a recurring pattern of fighting for months, and the fights are big enough that they need to get an outside opinion, and they both go to the same outside opinion, that is a bad, unhealthy, insane marriage, and you should see that you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, because it's like stressful on you, which isn't fun, but like also that's just like it's not great for both. I've never been to Switzerland for like this before. I've been like Switzerland for like friends like leaving each other. I've never been to Switzerland for like a breakup where it's been like I felt equally attached to both. Actually, that's not true.
I've had a friend break up where many of my friends were Switzerland. I would never ask them to not be Switzerland. I would never ask them. I want to respect their friendship with the other person, but it's extremely painful. Thank God all those friendships with that other bitch disintegrated. So
no, yeah, I had two best friends at senior year of high school. They broke up, or like going into freshman year of college. My two best friends at the time were like they dated and they broke up. And that one I tried to be Switzerland, and it was just hard. But that one was even like truly like. Yeah, they both were. And it is just hard. And it's like you ultimately have to pick it. I'm only friends with one of them now. And it's like the one who did better at communicating with me throughout the whole thing and that kind of thing. Like it's just little things like that like does go further.
Yeah. She should not have put you in that position. But also like, when are we our best selves when we're going through a devastating breakup like that? Like he did lose everything in a way that is way more than like the breakup we've been through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say not the asshole, but definitely the moron.
Yes. And also like truly, I bet you, and I fully believe you mean this person I've never met, that like the love you not always be here. I do. If you do fully mean that friend will probably come back. Cause you're right. Like, it's not like this person's going through the best time of their life where they can reflect on all of their wrongdoing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that friend was maybe a little extreme. Yes. But it's a time where them being extreme makes so much fucking sense that it's like to be there for them if they come back. Cause you know, it could just be something that you can talk through for sure.
But the takeaway is to not be people's therapist. It is not only not fair to you, it's not good for them in the long run.
No, it's not good for either of you in the long run, because it also gives the therapist friend an ego that is not needed.
Yeah.
Being the therapist friend before, there have been times where I'm like, I am so good. I know
Same.
all emotions. No, you don't. You don't actually. And I don't need that humility check every once in a while. Just don't make me the therapist friend. And I don't need.
Truly. I
need to
get
be
so
humbled.
up my own ass about how good the advice I give is. I started a whole fucking podcast about it, okay? Like,
Yeah.
I just think that I'm the most like emotionally mature advice giver in the whole wide world. And then it's like, sometimes I'll have those come to Jesus moments where someone will be like, I'm going to do the opposite. And it works out way better.
I've had friends be like, "You should be a therapist," and I'm like, "Absolutely the fuck not." But I give great advice. Stop it. Oh my gosh.
But I think it's also, we have pretty low standards for therapists. A lot of times therapists are just like 27-year-olds with mental health issues who got into therapy so that they could somehow therapize themselves. Like that's why you take your first psych class, right? And that's why you keep going with it. And that's why you take on an inordinate amount of student debt that you will not statistically be able to repay.
Wow, that was a moment.
I did a lot of research about going to grad school to become a therapist. And I was ultimately like, the only way I would be able to pay it back is if I went to school in a smaller market and then moved to a bigger market. So there's no way for me to become a therapist, pay off my student loans, and not be in poverty and live in Denver for any of that process. Unless I'm like an exceptionally high earner. Okay, thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. You can find our Patreon. It's our shared Patreon for this podcast at patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. That's for both of us, even though it's my name. Patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. You can find me anywhere at HannahJonesCool.
And you can find me anywhere at Calvin Reid, REID _.
Cool. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.